Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is December 27, 2023, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we're watching the chip makers pushing the markets higher. But first, no major economic event scheduled for today. So as we look at the various markets, starting up with the Forex symbols, the euro pushing higher and pushing its resistance-ish level. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. We called it yesterday. Now looking at the indices, both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ on their record highs. And as we look at commodities, gold unchanged while oil gains to the upside. Now looking at the stocks, Intel, one of the largest chip makers in the world, and AMD pushed the markets higher. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin bouncing off of support. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So for a week between Christmas and New Year's, for this to happen, it's exciting. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because generally during this time of the season, volume is light, trading is light, and it's hard to really predict when things happen, and it's hard to anticipate and have that confidence during this week because it's lighter than expected trading. Okay, but here we are. We're looking at the Euro USD. Yesterday hit that 110-10ish level, and then went above it. Now we are trading, not a big deal, only about 35 pips above it, but it did gain and it did push higher. Okay, so these on a daily chart, that's pretty significant. Okay, the question is whether or not it'll carry further higher than that. That seems to be the question of the day. Now jumping into commodities, gold remained mostly unchanged, but on its resistance. This might also be a shift if it does break that 65-ish level and push higher and close higher, maybe above that 2070-ish level, 2080-ish level, then we could see it back to its all-time record highs. Now, looking at crude oil, did gain. Now, I don't want to call this an upwards trend because it's not, okay? It goes, consolidates, breaks out higher, consolidates, breaks out higher, consolidates. That's not so consistent when it comes to trading. We like to see charts that are higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs consistently. That's a chart that we like to see, and this is not happening here. So just keep that in mind that, yeah, it's breaking out higher, but at some point it's going to consolidate and it will break at some point, okay? So if you can, put your energy on things that are consistently going higher, like Intel. But before we get to Intel, let's jump into the U.S. markets. The Dow Jones on its record highs, 37,880. If you look at the NASDAQ, also on its record highs, 17,090. It's been very strong, very resilient. Now looking at the individual stocks, take a look at this, and we call this out also. Intel. Now Intel is one of the largest semiconductors, chip makers in the world, not semiconductors, excuse me, chip makers in the world, and they're like the brick and mortar when it comes to technology. Yeah, NVIDIA is, sexy and it's for gamers and it's for AI and it's going to be the next thing. But Intel is not too shabby of a company either, okay? They're the first chip makers, the real first like major chip makers from the 1990s. And they're the ones that took everything. And most of the products that we have today is with Intel chips, whether it's phones, whether it's computers, whether it's tablets, whatever you got out there that's got some sort of computer life to it, it's probably got some Intel in it as well. So we're at above $50 a share. Now that's major because if you look at it, we had a massive sell-off, okay? For Intel, where we went from $68 down to $25, and now we're back to the $48 range and cleared it to $50. So that means we're about 50% of where we were from our sell-off. What does that mean? That's usually a point of, let's see where we're going from here, especially as we go into the FOMC next week. It's going to be a very decisive factor for this. Now, looking at the other major computer chip maker, AMD. Okay, AMD and Intel are one against each other and making new highs for the year. If we look at a weekly, also making a big jump backwards. Now, if you look at NVIDIA, I would expect it to be in the $500 range. It's only $8 away, but it's a chip maker and it's doing really well. And this may be the thing that's going to push us higher. Now, remember, chip makers are the first line in an economy that gets affected. So if the economy is turning around and interest rates are going to come down, then we're going to see an expansion in the next 2-3 years, potentially. Now, we are also going into an election year in the United States, so a lot of ifs, buts could still be in there. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin bouncing off of that 42,439. Very choppy at these levels, okay? Needs to break out for it to really sustain itself and sustain some of these gains, but not too bad of a comeback for something that went down to all the way to about 16,000 this past year. Okay, that's pretty decent for something that made a big comeback from the dead. And if we end up in the end of the year at $42, $43, a big comeback for those who have it on their portfolio. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.